The interrogation room smelled like copper and fear. Staff Sergeant Garrison Brennan sat hunched over a metal table, his hands cuffed to a steel ring bolted into concrete. Dried blood clung beneath his nose, and one eye was already swelling shut. A red recording light blinked softly in the corner. The unseen interrogator spoke in a calm, clinical voice and asked him to state his name for the record. Brennan swallowed hard before answering, his voice cracking as he gave his full name and service number. When asked how he sustained his injuries, silence filled the room. It stretched so long it became an answer on its own. Finally, he whispered that they didn't know she was not supposed to be what she was. When pressed further, Brennan looked straight into the camera, his remaining eye glassy and hollow. He spoke one final word before the screen cut to black. A hunter. 72 hours earlier, the California sun burned down on Camp Pendleton as a silver civilian sedan passed through the main gate. There were no military markings on the car, nothing to draw attention. Behind the wheel sat Lieutenant Commander Era Vance, dressed like an ordinary civilian, her expression calm, her movements precise. Everything about her was deliberate. She checked mirrors out of habit, not fear. Years of training had taught her that complacency killed faster than bullets. Her orders were sealed, her purpose hidden. Officially, she was here for a routine readiness assessment. In reality, she was here to expose something that had been buried for years. Era moved through the base quietly, observing more than she spoke. She reviewed incident reports, transfer requests, and medical files. On paper, nothing looked unusual. Complaints were dismissed. Injuries were labeled accidental. Transfers were approved quickly and without question. But when she stepped back and looked at the pattern instead of the details, something ugly revealed itself. Women disappeared from the base after filing complaints. Their careers ended quietly. And in the margins of every report, the same names appeared again and again. Brennan. Reeves. Holloway. Brooks. Always nearby. Never officially accused. Untouchable. Late that night, alone in her temporary quarters, Era opened an encrypted folder containing survivor testimonies. She listened as voices trembled, then hardened, as women described Thursday nights, locked doors, threats, and silence enforced by fear. Photos of bruises. Messages that had been ordered deleted. Careers destroyed in the name of unit cohesion. Era closed the laptop and sat in silence for a long moment. Then she whispered words that many of those women had waited years to hear. I believe you. The next morning, during early physical training, Era ran past the old recreation facility on the edge of the base. Four men stood near a side entrance, laughing casually. They noticed her almost immediately. One smiled. Another lifted a phone, pretending not to be obvious. Era didn't react. She kept running. But she knew now. They had seen her, and curiosity had turned into hunger. That night, she recorded a brief memo, confirming predatory behavior and accelerating her timeline. She made a decision that could not be undone. Thursday night arrived quietly. Era dressed like someone heading out for a late workout and walked alone to the old facility. Inside, the lights flickered and footsteps echoed off cold tile. She waited near the plunge pool. The door opened, and the men entered exactly as the survivors had described. Brennan led, confident and smiling. When he spoke, his tone was familiar, practiced. Era met his gaze without flinching and told him she was exactly where she needed to be. The moment Reeves grabbed her shoulder, everything changed. In seconds, the room exploded into motion. Precision replaced chaos. Strength met skill and failed. When the dust settled, Brennan was on the floor, Reeves was incapacitated, and the others stood frozen in shock. Era stood breathing steadily and spoke clearly for the recording devices hidden on her body and the phone still filming from the floor. She identified each man by name and rank, documented their intent, and then revealed her badge. Naval Criminal Investigative Service. They were under arrest. Sirens echoed through the building as military police arrived and secured the scene. What followed was unavoidable. The investigation shattered everything. Hidden videos surfaced. Emails long thought erased were recovered. A system designed to protect predators collapsed under its own weight. Survivors came forward in waves. 7 at first. Then 11. Then more. Careers ended. Commanders fell. Those who had enabled silence were exposed alongside those who had committed violence. Even when some tried to flee, there was nowhere left to hide. By dawn, all were back in custody. Months later, the courtroom was silent as verdicts were read. Guilty on all counts. Sentences fell like hammer blows. In the gallery, survivors held hands, breathing freely for the first time in years. Their voices had finally been heard. Era Vance was not there to see it. She had already moved on to her next assignment. Another base. Another pattern waiting to be uncovered. As she walked across unfamiliar ground, her go-bag over her shoulder, she touched the knife at her back, its worn handle etched with words that had guided her through the darkness. Patience defeats chaos. She whispered to herself that sometimes patience was for hunting, and chaos was what you left behind when justice finally arrived. Somewhere nearby, another predator believed he was safe. Somewhere else, another woman was afraid. Both of them were wrong. If you liked this story, please subscribe to the channel, because more powerful stories like this are coming.